currently working alongside Kenny Albert. They will be calling the Redskins-Giants game on Sunday because Burkhardt is busy doing some World Series stuff. CD, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
I think we're doing okay. We've made it through the first hour in 25 minutes, relatively unscathed. I haven't checked Twitter yet, so you know.
Yeah. So that last bit there where you don't listen to us, that's kind of been your only bobble, right?
Charles, you got to save us, pal.
You know, I can't save you. You know, you guys have got that under control. You know, I'm just teasing you. Pure love. Hope you guys are both doing greght.
We're doing great, my friend. I know you've been studying up for that Redskins-Giants game already. So let's start with that. You know, I'm a huge Redskins fan, and I'm not really buying them as a team that's on their way to a division title. What have you seen when you study them so far?
Well, I've seen a team that's been – I watched back the CBS broadcast last week, and you know how jacked up they were to have one out of the Fox inventory because, you know, NFC package,
sure.
That should be a Fox game, right? So they end up with the game and one of the great rivalries, and they end up having a terrific game. But they flashed up a wonderful graphic. I thought it was really terrific that showed over the course of time just how average Washington has been. That the record almost equalizes out, you know, every time you stop it somewhere. And here they are in their last 10 games. Here they are in their last 20. Here they are in their last 30. And essentially it was 500. No matter what you did, you know, there wasn't much fluctuation either way. And that's been the issue for them over the last 3 years. Jay Gruden told me earlier this year, we have a very front-running team. And he didn't mean it as a compliment because everybody wants to have a team that has the ability to make a return in the fourth quarter, can come back. Like an Aaron Rodgers is on your side, you never think you're out of a game. But they have shown dramatically when they get out to leads, they're hard to beat. If they don't get out to a lead, people beat them. And it's shown up this year. Just look at their record for this season and look at how the games have played out. Here's where there's optimism. Two places. One, they've strung together back-to-back victories and significant ones, okay, beating Carolina at home, and then turn around and beating Dallas. That was big for them.
Huge.
And then the second part is the rest of the NFC East is tripping over itself as well. So it could bode well for them. I'm going to throw in one more, 2A. That defensive front and the investment they've put in defense over the last couple of drafts and free agency, I think is starting to pay dividends for them.
They have three Alabama guys on that defense that are all, you know, Ryan Anderson, probably the least heralded of that bunch.
They actually have four. The other one just doesn't play as much. Sean D. or Hamilton.
No, you're right.
Hamilton.
You're absolutely right. But Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, huge parts of that defensive line. The things that hindered them the most coming into the season were stopping the run and running the rock. And obviously they're doing
giving up big plays too.
They're doing both of those. All right, the Giants. I'm not going to ask you the question that everybody's wondering: is Eli done? I will ask you it this way. What is
in New York?
Well, and I think that is the question. What's the biggest problem with that team right now? Is it the offensive line that just it's like a sieve?
Yeah, it is. It is really because they put money into Nate Solder and not getting the return on investment. Eli gets hit a lot. He's on pace to be sacked 55 times. No pace is a number of hits. Got to be towards 100.
Right.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The guard's going to be good. He actually played fairly well the first month or so of the season, but he's a rookie. He's going to have his times and his battles. And you know what doesn't help a rookie guard? A rotating block of centers. And they've had that. John Halpio started the season. He gets hurt in I think the second game. Greco comes into place. They have some more moves they need to make. So they move and start Spencer Pulley, who was starting at center for the Chargers in 2016, I believe. So rotating group there does not help a rookie guard who relies on his center to make sure he's lined up correctly. Here's the blocking schemes. Here's what's going on. And he's got three guys that he's already played next to, so that doesn't help at all. Patrick Omameh, they put a bunch of money into him as a free agent. He was hurt last week, but truthfully, he was going to get benched anyway. They were making the move to Greco. And at right tackle, we know that they tried Eric Flowers. We know that didn't work. They tried to shop him. No one wanted to take him. They cut him. He ends up in Jacksonville. And you're starting, Chad Wheeler at right tackle, an undrafted free agent. So, yes, that's a long way of saying yes. The offensive line is a real issue for them, but it's happening all different places. And now a team that they had hoped would contend, you can tell by this week with the trading of Eli Apple, the trading of Snacks Harrison, that they're open for business that way. And even John Mara, who owns the team, finally said this past week at the owners' meeting, yeah, this is not going to be a quick fix rebuild this time. So here we are.
James Coe, Dan Haley on the Rich Eisen Show. We got Charles Davis, the great Charles Davis, joining us as well. Hey, Charles, can you talk about what that mood might be with New York, man? Because, again, you talk about a team that's, struggled to win a game. They're trading away some of their best players. I mean, I was absolutely floored that they traded away Snacks because, again, I know they've been giving up some yards on the ground, but still, everyone recognizes Snacks as one of the best defensive players they got on that team. To trade them away for what they got, I think it was a 5th-round pick, I was blown away by that, and I'm sure that does not sit well with the current players on that team.
Well, you probably have seen the tweets from Landon Collins and, Devon Kennard, who's in Detroit now, played with the Giants, was like, yeah, hey! Landon hit him back, but go to sleep, bro. All right, enough out of you. Don't want to hear it. So, no, I'm sure the players aren't happy because Snacks is pretty popular there. But go back and look at the number of plays, his percentage of plays, James.
Okay.
And that's going to tell you a big reason about what's going on. Yes, he's one of the elite run defenders in the game, but he's not playing that much or nearly what you would expect him to be playing. And noted, they're still not stopping the run, and that's what he's supposed to be there to solidify.
Right.
And the last but not least that no one's going to talk about, he's got a very unwieldy contract. And for them to make moves and to get better, they got to get rid of some of that. Detroit, which still has designs on getting in it in the NFC North because no one has taken off and just elevated yet, not totally. Well, what have they been really bad at this year? Run defense.
Run, yeah.
And Matt Patricia's been around as a defensive coordinator. What has kept his team throughout time? Big guys inside who can stop the run and help them out everywhere else. He's kind of looking at Snacks Harrison as an investment in that to get things going for his new program in Detroit. So it makes sense for both sides in a lot of ways, especially when you're 1-6. There are going to be other players they're going to talk about. I mean, you all you got to do is read it. I mean, I'm reading the stuff getting ready. Janoris Jenkins' name keeps popping up.
Right.
Olivier Vernon's name pops up, although I don't see that one as coming because of the way the contract is structured, so that'd be a real surprise. And, of course, the big conversation is when do they actually make a move with Eli? Because last year's regime, as you guys remember, they drafted Davis Webb, the kid out of Colorado, 3rd round. They decide they need to see him late. They need to see another quarterback late in the season, so they bench Eli and kill the streak of 210 straight starts, which he was very proud of. And they start Geno Smith. So the first one, you sit down, you have your hard conversation with your veteran quarterback. We're going nowhere. This is what we want to do. And I'm sure they could have come up with a pretty good deal with him. I really think that. I think when they said we're going to bench you for Geno Smith, that went right out the window. Because
that's right.
Because you got to bench him with a plan, and Geno Smith is not a plan. You've got tape on Geno Smith. You've seen him in the league. Find out if your rookie can play. This year, they drafted Kyle Lauletta, 4th-round kid out of Richmond. He's been inactive every game. So behind the scenes, they have to start ramping that up and deciding if they're going to play him, which I think they have to, because they passed on every quarterback in last year's draft. They got to find out if they've got an investment in Lauletta before they go into next year's draft. So when do they pull the plug on Eli? When do they have this conversation? I'd say behind closed doors, the people who run the team are having that conversation. I think this week's game is probably, after it's over, that conversation ramps up into high gear.
No, I think you're probably right. And you have Lauletta, who you said has been inactive, and then you also have Alex Tanney.
No, Dan, come on.
That's what I'm getting there. You're not letting me finish, Charles.
I realize you're being extremely thorough here, but Come on, we saw Alex Tanney in Tennessee.
To my point, he's not an NFL caliber quarterback. He didn't even let me finish.
No,
Just cuts me
didn't.
right off with Tanney.
Oh, it is kind of ridiculous.
The trick shot artist.
Yeah, well, I had to throw it in because every time I say Alex Tanney, people look at me funny, and especially when I'm back home in the Northeast. And they go, what? And I go, well, he played at Monmouth. And they go, oh, yeah, basketball. I said, wrong Monmouth. He played at Monmouth in Illinois, not Monmouth here back in the Northeast.
Well, he played at Monmouth, and Loletta was at Richmond. Certainly not a big-time Power 5 program by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, one AA versus Division II.
A little different.
Might be just maybe. Yeah. Are they 2? Is Monmouth 2? Yeah, anyway. But in any event, it's been interesting to watch. And I hate it for Eli because one thing about him, everybody can criticize this and criticize that. That guy's answered the bell every time. And we always talk about quarterbacking, consistency, guys showing up, toughness. You know, people might not think of Eli as an all-time tough guy. How many NFL quarterbacks answer the bell 16 games year in, year out? It's hard to do.
And I think I feel like he's paid the price, Charles, for that. I feel like he can't even move around.
It's hard. He's 37 and was never a great mover to begin with. And when you become 37, you move even less. So you need that offensive line to be better. You need things to go well. They were hoping Barkley and the draft choice of Barkley, I don't think you can criticize it in terms of production, but they were hoping he would make the offensive line better. He would help Eli out. The problem is he's done it to such an extent that maybe the ball isn't getting downfield as much as they want. And I know Eli would look at me and go, bro, you stand in the pocket and try and throw it downfield with that throw.
He may say that.
That's what you run into. Everybody wants to push it downfield. You got to remember what it takes to push it downfield. And they don't have that to a great extent right now.
He could end up saying that to you in the production meeting.
Oh, yeah, I think he probably will, yeah.
I want to ask you about a friend of yours, somebody who you coached with at Pacific, I believe. And that's
Jackson.
No, not Hugh.
Jon
Gruden.
Gruden.
Jon Gruden. Okay. You go way back with Jon Gruden. You are friends with Jon Gruden. Jon Gruden is having a rough go of it. What is your take on what is going on in Oakland right now?
I really wish I had a good take on it. One of the things that you have with friends, and I know it's different in our business because sometimes because of our friendships we get more stuff than others. But I'm not like Silver. You know, I'm not writing for a living. I'm not breaking stories for a living, that sort of a deal. So I'm able to take my friendship with Jon and keep it right there. So I don't ask him these sorts of things. When we talk, we don't have those types of conversations. So everything I'm about to say, all right, I'm saying as a person who's observing, as an analyst, as a person who's watching the league. I don't know what's going on there. I'd like to know what the plan is. I'd like to know what's happening. The Giants are now telling us that they're rebuilding, right, with the moves that they're making. That's the only thing I can take as that Oakland has said we're going to rebuild. Now, it's been jarring because you're rebuilding, getting rid of Khalil Mack, who hasn't even approached his prime yet. You're getting rid of Amari Cooper, who's supposed to be a 1,000-yard receiver, and he's had consistency at quarterback, so don't know what's happening there, and right on down the line. And this was a team that, and just like the Giants, they were in the playoffs 2 years ago. So we didn't think it was a huge reboot and a changeover, but both of these teams in 2 years' time are deciding to turn over the roster. So it's a very interesting look at it. Let's just put it to you this way. I don't know where Oakland's playing next year because they don't have the lease for Oakland right now. I'm not sure Oakland wants them back for next year, but they will go into Las Vegas with an entirely new look.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any question.
And 3 first-round picks in this year's draft, which they need to hit on.
Well, they got to hit on all of them, right?
Yep,
to be worth, you get to hit on every single one.
Like Cleveland. Look, 2 years ago, remember when Cleveland had the 3 first-round picks? I would say that they've hit on them.
Yeah.
You know, if you look back, all right, Myles Garrett, Jabril Peppers, David Njoku. I think all 3 of those are hits. And then they supplemented it this year with Baker Mayfield and Denzel Ward. You can't say that the Browns didn't draft good players.
Before we let you go, Charles, and thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Your favorite, little inside baseball in terms of calling games. You've been doing it far longer than I have, and one of the cooler parts is that you get this time to sit down with the coaches and the players in these production meetings. Who are your favorite guys, coaches, players, to and you're not exactly chopping it up all the time in production meetings.
Yeah.
They're all different, but sometimes you do. Who are your favorite guys to sit down with and just listen to?
I was lucky enough that I came in before Favre exited. Brett Favre's the only player ever that I've dealt with in an NFL production meeting that you had to end the meeting.
Really?
Not him.
Wow.
Interesting.
The only one. And I say that with admiration, not with any type of a shot or anything like that. Brett liked hanging out. And I remember someone from Minnesota told me, you got to understand, everyone knows Brett Favre. And you know how difficult that is in football guys. Football guys aren't recognized the same way other than their size, like basketball players,
Right.
even baseball players, because the helmet, the face. People always go, that's somebody who, and by then the moment's passed. But Brett was recognizable. So he didn't go out to dinner on the road, right? He stayed in, he hung out. So he just liked to hang out and chop it up with the guys. So how lucky was I as a young broadcaster? And here's Brett Favre with his feet up telling us stories. And a lot of it, as you said, wasn't exactly, for the game, but just hanging with Brett Favre. So it's hard to beat that, especially for me at the time I was in. And I'll leave you with this. And Alec Ogletree, who I will see at some point this weekend, now with the Giants, he's with the Rams. He went to Georgia. James, you may not know this, but Dan and I both went to Tennessee. And we're probably not trumpeting it very much right now after last week. But we're both balls. And I had the Rams a couple years ago, Tennessee, Georgia weekend. And so Alec came in with a big grin on his face, like, yo, Davis, because we've known each other a little bit. And I was like, I know, Alec, I know. And Georgia was winning the game. And about halfway through, we're talking, having a good time, asking him questions. It's me and the rest of the crew. It wasn't just me and him. And someone from the Rams popped their head in and went, oh, Alec, real quick, Tennessee just beat you. That was Dan, it was the Hail Mary.
Oh, that was that game?
It was that game. And Alex
We haven't
went,
had many of those.
He goes, what? And the guy said, yeah, they threw a Hail Mary in the end zone, and they just said it's good, Tennessee wins. And I went, well. And
That's
goes,
amazing.
Okay, we're done here. He said, okay, we're done here. And he's done. I said, but we're just getting started. He's like, nope, we're done. See you later.
Enjoy that moment,
great,
man. Hopefully we have some more of those.
That's great.
Those are fun. Charles Davis, one of the best in the business.
100%.
As I said, my partner in the preseason with the Titans, working for Fox and NFL Network right now. Also, my son would be the first to remind me that
Madden.
he is the voice of Madden. He is the color analyst on Madden. And it is do you get recognized as much for Madden now as you do for anything else?
Not as much as one would expect, because myself and Brandon Gaud, my partner, were barely in the game. Like, we pop up on like the third quarter, like our faces pop up, and I think everybody buttons right through. Like, those, no, play.
Okay.
I'm not going to look at you two. So, but every week in a production meeting around a team, no exaggeration, at some point someone will make a reference to the Madden game, whether it's actually playing it or that guy last week was unbelievable. He was like something out of Madden, something along those lines. Occasionally guys know who I am, but a lot less than you would think.
Well, what an amazing franchise to be a part of. And, he also sent my son a Madden game. So,
there you
Charles,
go.
thank you for that, my friend. Hey, have a great call with my Redskins and the Giants coming up this weekend. For your sake, I just hope it's a good game and the burgundy and gold come out on top.
I have a feeling that we will have a good game. It's that type of rivalry. The Giants have their pride stung when, and everybody thinks it's a fire sale. Those types of teams tend to come out and play pretty hard, so I expect it to be that type of a game. And James, last year you abandoned me at the seminar, man. We sat next to her 2 years ago. Last year you were like, no way I'm doing this again. So I expect to see you next year if I'm coming back, okay?
Hey, there you go. I like it, man.
All right, brother. Be good.
One of the best in the business. Charles Davis, thank you very much.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.